back with more Your Kentuckiana Home, and I'm with Linda Gale Boyles with Southern Inspiration. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you're one of the designers of the Designer Show House this year, but we're actually in a model that you designed right now.
That is correct. I normally do a lot of models for Karen Built Homes. This is our fourth one, and each model that we do it in a different style, and this one is French Modern.
And what does French Modern mean to you?
Very clean. I think of it probably in the 1920s and 1930s decor, that you pick pieces of design elements from there. Artistic, but clean, a little bit of color here and there.
And one of the things that's neat about your history, I think anyway, is that you started off as an artist and kind of morphed into doing design.
Yes, I did. I started off as a decorative painter, and we do kitchen cabinets, we do wall finishes. I used to do murals, don't do as much of that anymore. I design furniture and finish it, and we also do vintage furniture.
And you have a lot of pieces that you did yourself in this model.
Yes, I have pieces that we have done that are vintage, and also pieces that I have actually designed.
What are some of the pieces in this model that you designed?
I've designed a mirror, and I called the pieces that I designed the Venetian Modern Collection. So they are taken from things that I saw in a hotel in Venice when I visited several years ago, and it kind of inspired me for these pieces. There's 2 tables in here that I've designed that's in that collection, and a mirror, and most of the other pieces in here are vintage.
And the walls you painted yourself?
Yes, we did stenciling in the dining room to look like wallpaper, and then the foyer finish is a strié French brush finish in a dark navy.
And you did the same thing in the Designer Show House room.
We did something similar. The finish in the powder room is a Venetian silk finish, and it is made to look sort of like moire silk fabric. It's a 4-layer finish, and it actually has a pearlized, and it actually has a little more texture than our finish that we have in the foyer here.
And tell me a little bit more about your Designer Show House room. What are people going to see when they visit you there?
Well, it is a very small room, and we chose to do a small room this year to actually just showcase our wall finishes, because we really enjoy doing that. And I had just done a Homerama home, so I wanted to do something that wouldn't take us quite as much time. But they're going to see a pearlized, which looks like the inside of probably a seashell. It has that same kind of coloring to it, seeing the kind of the texture. We have some prints in there. The floor is a really beautiful floor that has some travertine pieces in it. And it's very vintage looking at the same time.
And what was your inspiration for that room?
Well, first of all, the room is so small, as you will see in a powder room in an age of that house. So we were really wanting something that reflected light. So this finish that we created is something when the light hits it, the room glows. So we really wanted something to show people that if you have a small room or as an accent wall, that wall finish would be a good place to put it if you wanted to reflect a lot of light in the room, like a mirror.
And what's your favorite thing about designing?
Working with people, and when you leave their house and that you transformed either a room or the entire house, and that people are so happy with you when you leave, that you know that you've left a little bit of yourself there, and every time that they walk into the door, that they're happy. It makes a difference in the space. You know, you're creating people's sanctuaries, and I think in the world that we live in today, where you see so many things when we turn on the news, that when we go home, we really want to feel like that we're safe, and that's our haven.
So you make a lot of vintage pieces for yourself that you're inspired by. Do you ever have someone just come and bring you something and say, can you do something with this?
I certainly do. I love to go out and find pieces that we redo, and when I do that, it's like creating an art piece or sculpture. I get to do whatever I want to it. But a lot of times people will bring me their pieces that have been handed down to them, and in their current state, there's no way that they will put them in their house. So they'll bring them to me and say, okay, this is my style, this is what's going on, what can you do to these pieces? And they can be anything from tables to upholstered pieces. So we'll pick out fabrics, select finishes, and that to make them a custom piece. And the great thing about doing vintage furniture is that, of course, it's very green, and you're reusing pieces that are already been made, but vintage pieces are very well made, and they're one of a kind. So when you create these things, you're creating something that nobody else will have.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
If you're interested in having Linda Gale Boys do something for you, be sure to contact her with the information on your screen.